Hi everyone, and welcome to our video on another application of the Venn diagram cardinal number problems. In these problems, we have a list of values, which is usually a clue that we would want to use a Venn diagram. Okay, so let's start breaking it down. So I've got my big rectangle for my universe. And then looking at what we've got in here, well, there's all right, so we need to figure out what's important with our circles. Based on all of this information, I'm going to assume that there's 3 circles in our Venn diagram that we'll need to fill in, but now I need to figure out how to label them. Well, kind of this first line tells you have orange, or you have plump, orange, ripe pumpkins. So these look like the 3 ways to describe the pumpkins. Plump, orange, and ripe. Okay, so in just one sentence we could find that, and then kind of looking through it we could see some other words that might be involved. So there might be some other things that make you think, hey, there should be other circles. But on this problem we want to think of 3 circles and then also think of like their opposites. So like ripe, let me go ahead, ripe is going to be 1 circle. The outside of that circle would be the opposite of ripe. Okay, and on this, so I chose ripe because, well, we could see unripe. Unripe would be the opposite in this problem. And then, well, looking at the other categories, this one is using a color, orange. Well, the opposite of orange is some other color, I guess, in this problem. So it looks like white is the opposite of orange. So, and then plump, just thinking of pumpkins, you know, big plump pumpkin versus maybe like a cucumber-ish like pumpkin, I guess is how they're comparing these. So plump and long are kind of opposites. So plump is more spherical, long is, I don't know, again, like a cucumber or something. Okay, so on here we're jumping to that conclusion. We have to make that assumption because kind of looking at it, it doesn't look like there's any other word that would make sense to be opposite of plump anyway in the rest of the words that we have. Okay, so that means let me go ahead and so I'm going to do the plump, orange, and ripe. So plump, orange, and ripe for our 3 circles. And then we know these that I underline in purple are the opposites, so that means they're the outside of those circles in those respective order too. Okay, anyway, but what this is telling us, this first one, so this does give us information we could use right away. So a pumpkin that is plump, orange, and ripe would be right in the middle. 6. Nice. So the very first thing we could do is ready to go. And then this one is also, let's go ahead and keep it in the black ink. Number 2 is also ready to go. 13 long, white, unripe pumpkins. Well, these are the opposite words to what was right in the middle. So that means opposite of everything that's in all of these circles as well. So it's opposite of everything that should be in the circles. So that means it would be on the outside. So somewhere out, I'm just going to put 13 right there. Okay, so we have the number of pumpkins that are not in these circles is 13. Okay, and then now let's see what else we got. Okay, so our next thing, we've got orange ripe pumpkins. Okay, so orange ripe pumpkins. Well, here's orange to the top right, and here's ripe. So this is an intersection. And like in the last video, if you want to, you can use your symbol notation just to help. It doesn't say the word and, because sometimes they would write it maybe the same way that we would say it. So this pumpkin is just an orange ripe pumpkin. I don't know. So maybe something like that. But probably we would say and in real life. So I'm just going to kind of say squeeze that in. Orange and ripe pumpkins. Okay, so that means that is the football shape between the orange and the ripe circles. It's saying 12's accounted for. So I'm going to label this 3. So that means there should be 6 left over then to add up to be 12. Okay, so I'm going to just put my check mark there, and then let's keep it going. All right, let's see what this next one does. I'm going to continue using colors. Okay, so for 20 orange unripe pumpkins. Okay, so orange is this whole circle. right there. Unripe would be the parts of the orange circle that are not in the ripe parts of that circle. So it would be, so I'm going to erase this in just a second. So it would be this region and this region right there. So that, because that's still inside the orange circle, but it's taken away the ripe parts. So that means, well, I can't really use this yet then because I have two blank regions. Okay, so that means I'm just going to, so I just wanted to mark it. Let me erase it though, because it's going to get too messy if I leave everything marked. And I'm just going to go ahead and skip over it for now and see what this one can help me with. So let's see if it does or not. Okay, so for our next one, we have 14 long orange pumpkins. Again, so I'm going to stick to green because I haven't used it yet. I'm going to underline this orange part first because that circle is right here. That circle's right there. Long, remember, is opposite of plump. Okay, so that means long is outside of the plump circle. So that means it would be, so inside of orange, but outside of the plump circle. So inside of orange, but outside of plump would be these two regions that I starred. So just those two. And so it looks like that means we can do this one. This is the fourth thing we could do. So we already have 6 accounted for. That means there must be 8 left over right there. 6 plus 8 is 14. Okay, so my goal is kind of just looking at what's inside these circles first, looking at the one of the keywords, and then from that keyword, either taking away from it or thinking what I might need to add to it with other regions. Okay, anyway, so that's how we could break that down, though. Okay, and then moving on. Okay, so I will change my color. Those stars that I put in there, you might want to erase, or if you feel fine with them, I am going to erase it just to show that I don't want them really there anymore, to try to keep it organized, because having stuff that's starred might distract me. All right, anyway, so this next one is 60 plump pumpkins. Well, here's our plump circle. 60 of them. Well, I have only one region filled in, so that means I can't really do much with it right now. Okay, so that one I can't do anything with, so skipping it. The next one is 40 ripe pumpkins. Well, here's my ripe circle, but I have 2 blank regions, so that means I can't use this one yet either. All right, moving on to the next one. 50 unripe pumpkins. Well, that would be all of the regions outside of the ripe circle. I have 1, 2, I erased it. Sorry. Okay, so the 50 unripe pumpkins would be all the ones outside the ripe circle, which would be this one, this one, this one, and this one. So I have 2 that are empty, so that means I can't use that yet either. So again, I'm going to just erase that real quick. Okay, so that means, well, maybe I should go back to the one that I skipped over. I'm going to label it number 5. I think this is something that we should be able to use. Okay, so on this, it says that there are 20 orange unripe pumpkins. Okay, so I'm in my orange circle, but I want to do unripe pumpkins with it. So orange is what I'm starting with, and then it's saying unripe. Okay, so not parts of the orange circle that are ripe. So it's saying don't use the 6 and the 6. We are right here, and we are right here. So that's inside the orange and unripe. So inside the orange, but take away the ripe parts. And then so it looks like we can now do it because I have an 8 and 1 blank. So only 1 blank. Okay, so it needs to add up to 20. So that means, and then this is where that star is now in my way. Let me erase it. If it needs to add up to 20, well, 8 plus 12 is 20. Okay, so there, we've got that one. Okay, and now let's see what else we can look and maybe try to solve. Okay, so our next one is the 60 plump pumpkins. Okay, so 60 plump pumpkins. Again, that's this circle. 2 blanks, I can't use it. Okay, so I got to look at something different. And then we've got 40 ripe pumpkins. Well, here's our ripe circle. And, well, that has 2 blanks as well, so I can't use that. So it looks like I'm thinking this one, I'm going to label 6. The 50 unripe pumpkins is what we can use. So 50 unripe pumpkins, because that is the regions that are not inside the ripe part. So it's this region, this region, this region, and this region. And so 3 of them have numbers in them. That means the 4th we can fill in. Okay, so these need to add up to be 50. Well, we currently have 33, so that means this must be 17. Okay, so 50 is 17. Oh, I knew I was going to erase that. Sorry. There we go. Okay, so I was just erasing the dots again to make it so it's not too messy. Okay, so there it is. So that's, if we add them up, it needs to add up to 50. Looks like it's good. Okay, and then now we just look and see, well, I've got 2 blanks left, and I should hopefully be able to solve these. All right, so 60 pumpkins. Okay, so I've got 4 regions total. It needs to add up to 60. Okay, so I can do this. This is the 7th thing I can do. Okay, so the 17 plus 12 plus 6, that is 35. Another 25 would make it 60. All right, there we go. Okay, and then one more. Let me use one other color here. Let's do it in this pink. So this is the last thing we could do. So the 40 ripe pumpkins. Well, I've got 3 known values in the ripe, so that means they should add up to be 40. I currently have 37. 25 plus 6 plus 6 is 37, so that means there's 3 left over. Okay, and then that's now filled in. Okay, so there we go. So notice the order of this one. 1, 2, 3, and then skipped 1, 4, went back 5, 6, 7, 8. So again, that's why I number it just to see the order, and I think it might also help with the colors to figure this all out. The previous one, which was erased, we started at the bottom and kind of went upward. Okay, so it is just random where you start and where you end, depending on how they give you the information. One other thing about this problem that might be helpful for us is still thinking of opposites. Like with these 2, so these are the 2 opposites. So this is telling you everything that would be in the ripe circle and everything that's in the unripe circle, or not even in the unripe circle, everything that's outside. So it's saying everything inside the ripe circle plus everything outside the ripe circle. This would be, so this is where I'm going to use my notation. The number of ripe pumpkins plus the number of unripe pumpkins. Well, these are the opposites of each other. Those are the complements, and we have a rule for that, where that is the number in the universe. So we could still use some of these methods to help us with these problems. So we know this information does give us 90. Okay, and we can verify it. Let's verify, since I do have everything filled in now. Let's see. So 17 plus 12 plus 8 plus 25 plus 6 plus 6 is 12 plus 3 plus 13 is 90. Okay, so it matches. So there's ways to verify these certain things, but what this might do early on for us also, so just maybe if we catch this early before we even jump into it, it could help you figure out the number of opposites as well. So for instance, if there's 60 plump pumpkins, that would mean the number that are not plump would be 30. Okay, so because if it still needs to add up to 90, 60 plus 30 would be 90. And this might be useful for us if none of these helped us along the way. Okay, because sometimes you might think you're at a dead end, but there's some other hidden information that can help. Again, this can also help us just verify something's correct. So the number of not plump pumpkins, or this is also the number of long pumpkins. Either way, it's the one that's outside the plump circle. And well, if we do add 6, 3, 8, and 13, it is, let me go ahead and put that, 8 plus 6 plus 3 plus 13, that's 8. It got weird there. Okay, so there's my 8. Okay, so those are the regions that make up the non-plump. Okay, so and you could do that with these other ones as well. It's maybe a little tougher, but it's still something that is an option for us. So if we do get stuck in some way, we could always try to get the opposite information involved. Okay, anyway, now this is the tricky part. Now these ones, we just really want to verify that we got the right region marked as we fill it in. So number 1, ask how many pumpkins are in our garden. Well, we just talked about that. That's 90. There we go. And then we've got how many plump, unripe pumpkins are there? Okay, plump, unripe pumpkins. Okay, so the way I'm going to break this one down, let's go ahead and make a quick sketch. And you might be able to look at it from the original picture. Okay, so we've got our plump, orange, and ripe. So the way I'm going to first start it off is use plump. So here's plump. So it means it's somewhere in these 4 regions inside the plump. And I'm just bolding that circle. So inside of this circle, I have 4 regions, but they want to be the unripe ones. Plump and unripe. Okay, so that means outside the ripe circle, but still inside the plump. So I'm making the crescent shape. It's these 2 regions right there and right there. Okay, so it's the 17 plus 12, which gives us 29. Okay, so that's how many plump, unripe pumpkins there are. Okay, so that's where these pictures can help. And even again, if you saw it right away, that's great. If you used the words or whatever method, that's still good. Okay, so number 3, though, it says how many white, long, ripe pumpkins are there? Okay, so again, I'm gonna make one more sketch just to try to see it. Okay, so plump, orange, and ripe. Okay, so let's see. So I'm going to start with, so out of these 3 words, the ripe is the one that has its own circle. So I know it's inside of these 4 regions, and then it's going to get narrowed down. Okay, so the white, so what I'm going to do this time is kind of cross things out. Well, white would mean that it's not orange. So that means take those regions out. Those are gone. And then long is not plump. So I was trying to almost combining those words. Long is not plump. So it would be saying take those regions out, and one of them has already been taken out. So that means we only have 1 region left. It's right here. So the other way that they could have said this is the pumpkins that are only ripe. So that's another way they could have said the same thing. So it's the part that doesn't have any intersection to it. It's 3. All right, and then this last one, how many orange pumpkins are not ripe? So I'm going to start with, since orange is a circle that I can pick out, let me go ahead and, since everything's done, let me just use it here. So here's my orange that I'm just going to shade in. So it's so far those 4, but then it says not ripe. So take away the ripe parts. So not ripe. So not 6, not 6. It's the 12 and the 8. Okay, so notice this is already given to us in this information as well. They're just using a different vocabulary term. Okay, so, well, if we caught that, we didn't need the Venn diagram. Okay, because that was number 5 on our, it was this one. I'm just putting number 5 next to it. It's the same thing, just worded a different way. Okay, but either way, I still think it's nice to see the visual. And then it says not ripe, so take away the 2 parts that are ripe. You're left with 12 plus 8. And you can still even show that arithmetic if you want to. There we go. Okay, so there we go. So these are these problems. Okay, so these are fun. They're like puzzles. There's no straight way to get the answer to the Venn diagram. There's many different routes. So that's what I mean. It's like a puzzle. It's not like just say solving some equation in math that usually has a foolproof way to just follow the steps and you got it. These you can mess around and try different things out and use some like hidden information even sometimes, like what we did here in the black ink. Okay, but either way, I would still say, hey, get colors. I think they do help. Labeling these can keep you organized. Okay, so that way you can go back and verify certain answers. But other than that, I hope you are getting it. If you do have questions, let me know. Otherwise, thanks for watching, and I'll see you again soon.